But edit out the beginning, like as in right now. So,
Okay.
how you doing? All right. What's up, everybody? I am Bradley Schneller, owner and CEO of Stack Coaching. I have one of our longtime members with us, client, ambassador, and friend, Kristi App. How are you doing, Kristi?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So Kristi is high-powered executive here in the city of New Orleans. Am I wrong saying you're high-powered executive?
Well, I'm not. I wouldn't debate it, but I try not to think too highly of myself.
Well, I think highly of you, so
Yeah.
that's good. I wanted to have Kristi on the show today because she has had quite a journey to get to where she is today. And I always think it's stories like yours, Kristi, that gives people hope.
Mhm.
Okay. And they can see that it's been done. It's been done like in a way that you used all the ways to get to where you are today. And I
Yeah.
think that's important because there is no one way, right?
Right.
Like, and then for some people, it takes multiple ways, right?
Yeah.
And that's you. It takes
Mhm.
multiple ways. So I brought you on today because you and I have had a lot of discussions about GLP-1 inhibitors,
Mhm.
semaglutide, Ozempic, and you are currently on, is it semaglutide or?
I'm on
Uh,
semaglutide. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, great. But the interesting thing is you have been a member at Stacked, formerly Rue, for how long? 6 years? 5
Oh,
years?
probably over that. I think I've been a member
7?
since 2015 or 2016. One of the two.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Long time. All right. And you were doing that, and there was a lot of things that led up to you getting there. You did nutrition coaching with us as well,
Mhm.
and and that helped. And then ultimately, you got to where you are doing what you do right now, and you still do weightlifting with us.
Mhm.
You've also had a couple of surgeries, correct, in there as well,
Yeah.
that have been tough. So, if you don't mind, Kristi, could you share your age with everyone?
Yeah, I'll be 47 on Friday, so 46. So.
Congratulations. And I did get the notification that your birthday is coming up.
Yeah,
Happy
my
early
mom's
birthday,
here this week of what if I? Yeah.
Kristi. Yeah. So talk about a little bit back in 2015, when you started with us from a fitness standpoint. What brought you to the gym back then in 2015?
So 2015, it was at that point, I think it was my late 30s, mid to late 30s. I had at that point, at the down slope of raising my son. He was getting ready to graduate high school. Was essentially a workaholic. Um, you know, uh, Worked a lot, traveled a lot, and didn't really take care of myself for probably the last 10 years prior, really since I got out of college and started working full time and focusing on my career. I focused on raising my son, becoming successful, being able to provide for my son, and that really took advantage. Not took advantage, but it took precedent over everything. Um,
Correct me if I'm wrong though, Kristi. When you came into the gym, like you were fighting a lot of different things, right? Like you were, I think if I recall, you were a swimmer in high school, right?
Yeah, so I swam me around competitively up until I believe I was a junior in high school. Then did some master swimming after that, and I was pretty fit. I was always a gym junkie. I've always loved lifting weights. Continued to lift throughout college, and just when I got out of college, and I had my son when I was 18 years old, so my adulthood started a little bit differently than others. Um, and and we can go kind of, I'll full disclosure on everything. I also, when I was younger, suffered from depression, um, which turns out, in adulthood through adult therapy, 10 years later, it's just, I suffer from anxiety. And if I don't treat my anxiety, it triggers depression. So,
And didn't you say swimming actually had it gave you a bad relationship with food, correct?
no, not really.
No.
Actually, that was not me. That was,
Oh,
that was, that was,
no, it's someone else. I know who that was. Never
yes.
mind.
And but I never actually I was pretty fit. Like I was a skinny, undersized kid. I was picky. I didn't like food. So my weight was never a thing for me. My weight became a thing when I graduated college, started working full time. Quite honestly, I was raising my son, so I quit drinking because I was a single parent. I didn't, I was just trying to be the best version of that self. And quite honestly, alcohol for me prior to that was a bit of self-medication for my anxiety. And so when I was no longer drinking, then food became that sort of soother for any sort of emotional angst that I had during that time frame. So I, basically went from, having a few glasses of wine every night to then that would change to ice cream. And then, if something would happen emotional, then it's, I'm, eating Skittles like a crackhead. So that was,
Yeah, it's interesting when, a lot of people don't understand, um, either looking at coaching from afar or people with weight issues or something like that. And they think it's easy as just replacing this with that,
Mhm.
right? And it's not. Identifying for someone like you, there are triggers or habits,
Mhm.
and you cannot fix the nutrition side of it until you fix the depression, anxiety part of it.
Mhm.
I mean, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It was, I don't know. I always, and I think I've used this and, and when we've emailed, I look at my life now as to where I'm at this is, my health and happiness is supported by a very robust toolbox. And I have lots of tools in that toolbox for everything from, um, learning how to eat right, exercising, lifting weights, therapy, spirituality, it, everything. It's, it takes a lot. Um, being happy isn't easy. It takes a lot of it, and it
It's
sounds
work.
fucked up to say it, but it takes a lot of work to dig into your shit to see what makes you tick. And then once you get a better understanding of yourself and you develop a comfort with yourself of what personally bothers me, of what triggers me, of what makes me happy, what makes me sad, getting some healthy boundaries, it takes a lot to deal with, things that would flare up my anxiety. And now, like I said, I have a robust, a robust toolkit that supports me daily.
Yeah. And I'd like to point out that, and I kind of say this all the time, life isn't fair,
Hmm.
right? Some of us have to
Yeah.
work harder at things than others,
Hmm.
right? Whether it's for happiness or for weight loss or for our aesthetic or, or being calm or fighting anxiety. Like, it's different for everyone, and everyone's journey is different. Kristi, do you remember back in 2015 when you joined the gym? How much did you weigh? Do you remember?
I was 220 pounds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you weigh today?
150.
70 pounds.
Yeah.
70 pounds ago. That's incredible. Like, I'm proud of you and congratulations on that for sure.
Thank you.
I remember, so like you started nutrition coaching with us.
Mhm.
Okay. Uh, and how much did that help change?
Yeah. I would say it helped immensely. So I joined the gym immediately, probably over the first few months, just from working out again. I probably got myself down like about 205, 200 is where I
I want to
fluctuated.
point out Kristi was a go-getter. Like, she
Yeah.
really hit the gym hard.
Yeah. I don't, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it well, which is,
Yeah.
which is, which is a blessing and a curse. But I did, I embraced it. I became a, devout 5:30 a.m.er, and it was fantastic. Made some great friends. And then they had, but I was always very, from therapy, I had, from learning in therapy, like before I'd gotten into, I also used to use deprivation as a tool, for almost like kind of sabotage, self sabotage. So I was always very wary of doing anything on the diet side that would flare that up. And I remember it's like maybe the second or third challenge you guys had at the gym. And I had talked to my therapist, and and he was, we were working through some, trying different things, and it was like, let's go for it. Let's see what happens. And it was eye opening to me because it wasn't about deprivation. It was about learning what food does for you, how food, how great food can be, how, using spices, and just really learning about how my body would respond to treating it differently by feeding it in a different manner. And that was, my first sort of like, hook into the nutrition side. And I really enjoyed it. And then when y'all spun up
Private
the
nutrition
actual,
coaching.
yeah,
Yeah.
private nutrition coaching, I got in on that as well. And it just, and it's such a great program because it addressed everything from, the mental component of food. It was just robust. It was, about nutrition, about how, everybody's body is different.
Yeah.
How my body was, what I learned was, there are certain people that can eat a ton of fat and lose weight. Like that's not me. Like I need almost 1-to-1 from protein to carb, with not a lot of fat, which is what works for me. So it was enlightening. It had a great community built around it, recipe sharing, ideas. I mean, it was really good. And over that, I was able to lose some more. But my big progress came during COVID. And that was when, for the first time in probably, 10 to 12 years, I wasn't constantly on the road and traveling. And it gave me an opportunity to really 100% lock in on my nutrition and be like, for every meal that I cook, I actually have control over what I'm,
Yeah,
what I'm eating.
I don't think people understand how difficult it actually is to lose weight when you constantly eat out.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is, I mean, it's for one, you really don't know what they're putting in the food,
Mm-hmm.
So like the calories could be all over the place. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's their job to make it taste good.
Yeah. So it's oil and butter.
Right.
And,
So consequently, they are creating highly palatable foods, in
Mhm.
which case you want to just eat more. So,
Mhm.
like some of our habits of eating the 80% full,
Yeah.
eating slowly, you're like,
Yeah.
I want to eat the hell out of this because it tastes delicious.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Like when you finally got a chance to control the majority of your meals, you started to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. And I did. And so over that, I lost, over that period, that's where about another 40 pounds came off of me. And I looked fantastic. I felt
I
fantastic.
remember.
And it was awesome. And really used it. And I really didn't, I've always struggled. Like water retention, things like that. That's just something that's, but for the most part, I was able to maintain my weight. I had a great lifestyle. I would, you pick and choose, you learn through coaching, you can still go out to eat. You can still have great meals with friends, but it's, you plan for it and you account for it with, kind of balancing out your day. But where I got a little sideways again was I had a health scare and then had to have a hysterectomy. And then, which, really just didn't jack up my hormones right away, but it just started a trend for a year. Went from a hysterectomy, was all clear, didn't have cancer, which was fantastic. But I was left with one little sad ovary floating around that was probably covered in cysts and just, spitting out hormones like a dehydrated, camel. And then a couple of months later, I always tell people, I said, no, I didn't hurt my back at the gym. I was actually volunteering at a festival. I helped run the judging for Hogs for the Cause, and I was standing
You were picking up a rib?
no, actually I stood for 3 days and just, I have a sway back, and and what started hurting was my foot and I couldn't get it diagnosed. I went through about 6 months of then, not only coming off the hysterectomy, but then dialing back exercise, trying to figure out what's wrong with my foot, only to have an MRI of my back after my foot didn't heal to realize that I had a bulging disc that was pushing on my sacral nerve. So
Yeah.
then having to go through that treatment and not exercising, now my, hormones are changing. And, throughout that period, I put on 15 pounds. And then I believe it was December of 22, between December of 22 and January of 23, in the course of probably 6 weeks, I put on 25 pounds.
Yeah.
And it was a horrific feeling. So at that point, for me, and at that point in time, I was like, I have to take care of clearly, my skin breakouts, I had brain fog. I knew something hormonally was wrong with me. I went on, one type of estrogen. It really didn't do anything. And then when I went and sought out, and found a great hormone specialist, I go to Timeless RX. They're fantastic. And started BHRT, which is bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And so started doing estrogen and testosterone. But in my first consult there, which was, I went and weighed in. I remember I stepped on the scale, and I weighed 196 pounds. And I was just like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like here we are again. You know what I mean?
Right.
This shit's going to take, with terrible hormones, this is going to take 2 years to come off.
Because I'm going to stop you for a second. Okay. Because I want to explain to people what wonky hormones do, right? Like, you can lose weight
Mhm,
with wonky hormones, okay? But it is pushing down your maintenance point,
mhm,
right? Like your metabolic set point, okay? So whereas if, let's say, Kristi, if she ate 1,400, 1,500 calories in the past, she might be in a decent caloric deficit to where she get the ball rolling with
mhm,
losing weight. Well, now it might be she needs to eat 900,
mhm,
1,000 calories to lose weight. And for a lot of people, it's not sustainable, and it's really not possible,
mhm,
so we have to do other, especially like if you have all these other factors around you happening to tell you to eat,
mhm.
eat, eat,
Yeah.
eat, eat. We have to block out the noise, and there comes the GLP-1 inhibitor, semaglutide, Ozempic, right?
Mhm. Yeah, so literally I stepped on the scale, she wrote down the weight. And then we're talking about the hormones, and she just said, I noticed, your weight's high. Do you have any interest in, in weight loss injections? And I remember my first response, which is so funny, which I always, which I think is why I'm so passionate about it, was no, I'm not interested. Because literally my first reaction when she offered that to me was like, oh no, that's cheating. Like somehow, I think whether it's women or just whatever, but I think we're programmed like if it's if it's easy, it's if you do a workaround, it's some you're cheating somehow.
Yeah,
Uh,
guess what? When someone's looking at you going
yeah,
down the street, they're not like, I
yeah,
wonder if she's on a weight loss injection.
yeah,
I mean, they might be, but
yeah.
now.
And really, but like the funniest thing, and then I guess, and it's like I said, it's it's times like those where I appreciate my toolbox. So I remember that moment, I said it, I thought it, and it immediately triggered. I'm like, that reaction is so fucked up. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, that's not being good to me. That's not doing something that's at this, it's medically approved and proven safe and effective now that can help me. Like, why am I trying to make my life more difficult, especially at a time when I'm, deeply unhappy with how I look, and, I'm being offered an option for something that could potentially work for me. So, I immediately, we talked about it. I said, I'm interested in it. And we talked about it, and she said, well, let's get your hormones in check. Let's see what levels we get you to, what you start responding to before we introduce that. So I started on the hormone therapy, and probably about 6 weeks later, I started on semaglutide. And so it was probably uh, about 11 months into it right now. It started the beginning of March last year,
Yeah.
and started on that process, and it's been fantastic. Because I remember at first when I got on it, I was like, I'm going to get on it, I'm going to lose weight, and then I'm going to get off of it. And the craziest thing happened, that's that when the medicine leveled out for me, it was the first time in my life, especially with my anxiety and quite honestly, my job is stressful, my life is stressful. Um, but it was the first time where like I wasn't constantly thinking about food. You know what I mean? Or like, holy shit, this is stressful. Like now I have to go take a walk instead of doing this. It was just like I no longer. It was the first time in my adult life that I no longer felt compulsed to eat.
That's
Um,
amazing. It's amazing. So I wanna just let everyone know, like, I'm not gonna use I don't wanna talk about a bunch of scientific jargon with everyone. I want to talk about Chrissy's experience, how she got here, and then how someone can use it. And I'll also going to point out some things that I personally believe and Stack believes that you should be doing while you're on this aid.
Yeah, and full disclosure too, like when we spoke about it, just as like, they educated me about what I need to be aware of while I'm on hormones. They did the same thing as well for the
Good.
semaglutide. They did not promote it as being, this miracle cure. She said this is the only thing it's going to do is, I remember her wording to the day. You're going to push yourself away from the table, and it's going to affect your hunger. And that was it. She goes, but you still have to eat well. You still have to exercise. You should be eating minimally processed foods, protein, you know, everything we talked about in Stacked is the exact same thing they told me. So it wasn't here, inject yourself with this and kind of good luck to you. Like, they provided a lot of good guidance, which is also why I was very comfortable with it, because it was they weren't just sending you out on it and then like, yeah, good luck with you. We'll see you when you want to buy some more. Like, you
So,
got to go and do weigh-ins and check-ins and that sort of thing.
yeah, and I want to talk about how like this nutrition advice in terms of eating protein, still getting your micronutrients, your vitamins, your minerals, fiber in is all important. Because recently I had a nutrition client, a male, and he was like, I don't want to lose any more weight because I don't want to lose muscle. Or how do I just lose fat and not lose muscle? And my response was, well, I mean, it's really not possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, when you lose weight, you can't say, I'm just going to lose the fat. I'm not going to lose the muscle. You lose both. Now, there's ways to mitigate the muscle loss, right? Resistance train, eat enough protein, right? Like, those types of things can minimize the muscle loss as much as possible while taking larger chunks of the fat, so that when it's time, we can rebuild the muscle and kind of go through a similar process and keep as much muscle as possible. But to lose the amount of weight people want to lose, you're going to lose muscle. So what happens is when you inhibit your ability for hunger, right? Like, if we are not cognizant of the right foods we're supposed to eat, and really probably have a schedule, Kristi, like, I need to eat this amount of protein, right? Like, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to work out, like, do all these things, then you may not come out of this process looking great. You might just look like a skinny grandma or something.
Well, and it was funny because I remember you all did there was a maybe on the on the Instagram. Jesus, I sound old.
On the interwebs.
Yeah, on the interwebs. But on Instagram, I think something about this, and and somebody put, well, they didn't want to take it because they didn't want to be skinny fat, and I was just like, and I get it, but it's, and when I started, because I remember when I started, I told you, I was like, listen, I'm going to be doing a body scan about
Yep, I remember.
every month, every this, and I'm like, and I'm going to be tracking my data because one, I'm very comfortable with how I look. I carry a lot of muscle. I like it. That is how I'm built. It's how I've always been built, and I enjoy it. So I personally don't want to. I'm never going to look like a ballerina, nor do I want to. And I enjoy lifting weights. So that's something that was important for me because I wanted to. There really hasn't been a ton of data about how people who weren't diabetic or who was originally made for, how they've responded to it. And again, through talking with
Did your doctor warn you about, like, hey, like,
oh yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah, she was, because I told her, like, goals, and she said the same thing. She goes, you need to prioritize your protein. She goes, your level of hunger is going to be knocked down. So like when you are doing your calories, you need to start packing on protein. So that's when I prioritize protein from the time I wake up in the morning. So
Can you tell me how you do it right now? Like,
now
yeah,
I've started, and especially because of some of the information you had given us as well too about, if you're not eating before you work out, that's also, an opportunity for me to lose muscle. So now on the way to the gym, I eat a Built bar. So I eat a protein bar on the way to the gym. When I come home, and again, I'm scheduling food essentially, because I really am. I'm really not compulsively hungry. You just don't. It's just weird. I don't have a sense of hunger. So
is it freeing to schedule your? Is it freeing to schedule your food?
Because before it felt like when I would do nutrition, I would I look like a construction worker. I would go into the office with like a giant ice chest and like, I can eat this, I can eat this. And I remember I would parse it out all day long because I'm like, Jesus, like, what if I get to 2:00 and I've gone through all my snacks and then like, you can't eat. So now it's sort of the opposite problem where I'm like, holy shit. Like, I'm like, I have to, like, you now have to eat. And I found too, like if I'm, and also too, like for me personally, like because of, whether it's anxiety or just whatever it is, like if I don't eat, I'm a bitch. Like I get hangry. When I eat, one of the first, things we did with me when I was being coached was trying intermittent fasting. That was a terrible failure. Like nobody could talk to me before noon. I mean, it was just like, that didn't work.
I want to point out it's not something we make people do. It's just a tool,
It's
just
a
like
tool.
all of
Yeah.
this stuff. It's just a
And it
tool.
and it works for some people and it's
Right.
fantastic, but it didn't work for me. So now, like literally, it is. I carry on a lot of chomp sticks. Lots of Greek yogurt with protein powder. In my iced coffee, I drink. I put protein powder. So it's just finding ways for me now to get protein in because I'm not eating as much food. So it's you know, and that's been like I said, it's been about 11 months for me, and I've dropped about 40. And but but I'll go in spurts. Like I'll lose 10 pounds, and then I have 6 months, not 6 months, 6 to 8 weeks of where I'm traveling a lot, and then I'll just maintain, which is also another miracle in and of itself because I've never been able to maintain when I'm on the road. When I'm traveling in my life, I would always go back up 5 to 7 and then have to drop back down.
So do you find yourself when you're at a restaurant traveling and eating out, do you find yourself eating less, taking more home, giving food back, or you're ordering less?
I'm ordering less and it's like strategic. So, I am looking on a menu for a fillet, a piece of grilled fish.
Using those same like macro
Yeah,
principles that we taught, like
right.
all the food now, and now you're just like doing it not you're doing it intuitively
Mhm.
because you're not compulsed to eat, but you're
Right.
making better decisions when you
Mhm.
are.
Yeah. And for me, I haven't, and it's worked wonderfully. Like I haven't, I read a lot about, people who are on, having issues with semaglutide and, or just talking to people. And then I asked them like, well, what do you eat? And a lot of times because people aren't hungry, they're not eating until, 10 or 11 o'clock. And then they eat, they may have like I don't, not to say frappuccino, maybe like some sort of latte or some, coffee and, sugary. I mean, but if the first thing you're feeding your body after not eating, for that long and they're not quality calories. And that's one of the things that when I got on this, I was like, no matter what, I am sort of making the promise to myself, one, because I don't want my body composition to change drastically. I want to lose weight and I have lost muscle, but I haven't gone flabby. You
No,
know what I mean? Like,
you look good. You look
thank
good.
you.
You look toned.
Thank you. And but it is, but I absolutely 100% prioritize protein and just like the good nutrition, good sound nutrition principles, the things, you all push is one, I can't overeat right now. Quite honestly, if I overeat, I will like I'm gonna throw up. And so when I go out, it's I look at it, I share meals now a lot with people. Like, I'm like, hey, do you want to split this? Or if like we do this, like,
Oh, I like that.
like I'm getting this, like you can have my salad. I'll eat that sort of thing. So it's worked well, but it's
Christy, you mentioned you stopped drinking. Do you drink now or
yeah.
okay. Does so my question is does the semaglutide does it change anything about drinking for you?
Yes, which is another blessing because once once I did the job of raising my son and I could see that he was going to be a wonderful man, that which he is now, he's fantastic. Then I was like, all right, girl, you can start having that wine again. So probably when Christian, I think it was about 17, I think it was a junior in high school. And I realized that like, all right, I've done a good job. He's good. I can start sort of letting go now. And started drinking again. And like I said, for me, not drinking was just being a single parent and really just, I don't know, like I wanted to be a good example for him. Not that, if you do, but it was just like, I was the only sort of example in his life and I wanted to make sure I was a good one. But for me, semaglutide, like I am a huge, I loved a Sauvignon Blanc. It has changed how, I can't drink a lot of wine. It makes me sick.
Interesting.
It doesn't make me feel well. I can still do champagne, which I like. But it doesn't taste good, and quite honestly, down here, especially in New Orleans, we tend to drink a lot. It's just, it is,
I could
we
have
tend
used
to
some
drink.
semaglutide last Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. But it does, it just, so I don't, and that's been another sort of net benefit, like I don't, rather than, coming home and having a couple glasses of wine, if I want to drink, I'll have one. If, I'll make a gin and soda with some, a grapefruit wedge or something.
So it cuts down on the thirst for more, maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, it cuts down on,
Nice.
yeah. It does, changes taste a little bit. I've talked to some people that, um, affected how different things tasted for them. For me, it's, not so much food, has been more on the alcohol side that definitely where I've noticed that sort of effect. But I mean, for me, like, I don't, because of good coaching principles from you guys, it's, I've been on my nutrition didn't change from when I gained another 40 pounds back until, and then transitioning into the semaglutide. Like I just, kept the same thing, but now it's, like I said, I have a tool that helped me lose weight a lot quicker than it would have had I not had it.
All right, two questions for you. Okay. First one being, do you have a goal you're trying to get to? And I'm going to say both questions so you can answer them together. If you're right.
Mhm.
So you have a goal weight you're trying to get to. When you get to that goal weight, do you intend on stopping the semaglutide, or do you intend on taking it for a while, for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I have a goal. I like the size that I'm at right now. So I'm right on a border. I'd say like I'm a bigger version of a size 6,
Okay.
which is, I'd like to get to your
4.
normal. Yeah.
Oh,
So
6.
probably I maybe want to see what 145 looks like. And then the way, you know, and the way, way works. Like I still do the same thing. I weigh myself every day. I log it in my fitness pal, I see the trends. My weight prior to hormone therapy and semaglutide, especially hormone therapy, I mean, I could gain 9 pounds of water in a day. So like, I'm very conscious of weighing myself every day. But I'd like to get to around 145 and then probably back off, because I don't want to lose any more after that, but I also don't want to get back to the point of where I feel that hunger compulsion again, or that food sort of obsessiveness. And quite honestly, I like food, so
When you
it's
say back off, do you mean get off of it or
reduce the dosage.
reduce the dosage? Okay.
Yeah.
So you could essentially, do they recommend that weaning yourself off, or just getting less and less and less and less and see what the least amount you can do?
I don't really know if they have the data on it yet. I know there are some people that take less dosage to get the mental benefits of it. Um, and that's probably what I will do. But at one point, like I said, I want to get to about 145 and then come back off of it, be able to put on more muscle, and then probably hope, because I guess from gaining and losing weight twice, you know what I mean? I know like me 5 pounds of muscle isn't going to change my clothing size much. It's
Yeah.
just going to change the way I'm shaped.
So what do you think about this drug from a like worldly perspective? Like when you look at it, like, would you say it's a miracle drug? Do you think how more people should, if they can afford it, get on it? Do you think they should try to make this drug in a way to make it more affordable for all?
I,
Yeah, I don't know.
I think yes to all the above. I think, for somebody like me, you know, um, it has been a bit of a miracle. You know what I mean? For me to not want to, for the fact that I don't wake up in the morning anymore worried that I'm going to have to fight feeding my feelings. You know what I mean? Which is a shitty feeling. And I never realized it was a shitty feeling because I just did it my entire life until all of a sudden it wasn't there. And
Yeah.
it's been very freeing, and liberating to a degree to not feel like, oh fuck, I'm stressed out. I really want to go, and literally this is how my brain goes. Like I get stressed out and then my snack drawer is to the right at the office and like pulling it out and, having to trick myself with chopsticks and, low calorie stuff so that I'm not eating candy. But even now, like that just sits there and, And if I'm picking out of that drawer just because I need protein, as opposed to let me eat a healthy snack because I'm stressed that I don't eat, a special,
Yeah, I want to point this out, and I've probably had maybe 300 people that I've coached in nutrition over the last 5 years. Okay, and out of those amount of people, I mean, more than you think have issues that you know affect their weight, affect their food intake, that have nothing to do with eating.
Mhm.
Right? And I
Yeah.
think it's hard for a lot of people that never experienced that in the past to recognize how difficult it can be.
Mhm. And it's and I guess that's why, like, we were talking about a little bit earlier, like I have, people when they're, they say you lose weight and they ask me what I've done. I tell them, well, I said I eat right, I exercise, I'm on hormone therapy, and I inject myself with semaglutide. I'm very open about it. Like, I'm not ashamed of it. It has been a fantastic tool for me in my toolbox. It's the mental benefits have been amazing. But I think, when you look at it, like you talk about it from a worldly view, you know, um, I don't know, you look at somebody like Oprah, you know what I mean? And then Oprah, who, despite being one of the most, wonderful women, she's also a billionaire. I mean, she's had every tool or monetary resource at her disposal. And clearly she has some issues, whatever, with food as well. And she's on it and she looks fantastic. And I bet she feels freaking great as well. So, I don't judge anybody. I mean, I think if it is, I just think in general, like there's so much sort of judgment that goes into it, that it's like shit. Like you don't know what somebody else's situation is until you ask them. And I guess that's why I try to be very open with it, and and just let people know it is. For me, it's affordable. Like it costs me about with the dosage I buy, and I buy sort of it in bulk, and it averages about $130 a month,
That's
which
actually
is
not bad at all.
it's not bad. It's not bad at all.
It's less than your gym membership.
It's 100. It is less than my gym membership, but but it is. But I mean, and that's what I try to tell people, because I think when they look at it, they're looking at the branded Ozempic or Wegovy or whatever they call it, which is about $1,200 a month. But I mean, there are compound versions, so I mean, it is, and I guess that's why I do tell people about it, because it is affordable. And I think for people that struggle with your weight or struggle with food, or struggle with your weight because of food, it is an option. And if you take it right and you take the supplements that go along with it and you continue to do everything else you need to be a healthy person. uh,
Look,
you
I'm
know,
going to say this too.
right.
Like let's say your semaglutide cost $130. Let's say
Mhm.
your gym membership costs $200. That's
Mhm.
$330. Okay. Let's say because you already have a gym membership, your nutrition coaching costs another $300,
Mhm.
right? So now you're at $600 a month. Okay. Let's just say that. All
Mhm.
right. Now, the $600 a month is temporary because you don't need nutrition coaching forever.
Mhm.
Okay. And you may not need semaglutide forever.
Mhm.
Right. And of course, you can wean the dosage, whatever. All right. Um, but you know what that's cheaper than?
Mhm.
Developing some type of
Mhm.
illness or sickness that's going to
Mhm.
keep you constantly seeing a
Yeah.
doctor,
Mhm.
you know?
Sure.
And then also, like, let's look at it this. What are the benefits of you spending that $600 over like all these other vices that you
Mhm.
might have, right? That are gonna, you're not gonna feel good about yourself with this other stuff. You
Yeah.
will feel good about yourself with these things.
Yeah. No,
And
it
then
is.
think about the confidence that that gives you in your job,
Mhm.
around your son, all those things in this world that are super beneficial.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think at the same time, like I feel good. Like I haven't felt this good holistically, um, in my entire life. And for me, that's worth, it's worth whatever I feel that I want to pay for that. And
I
I'm
love it.
and I'm not, and I'm okay with it. You
Yeah,
know.
I love it. Christy, thank you for sharing your story with us and all those who are listening. If
Yeah.
you were interested in semaglutide, you can read Christy's doctor. That's Timeless RX. And then, we are Stacked Coaching is associated with a doctor as well that also prescribes semaglutide. So if you're interested in that, you can direct message us. go to our website, fill out a form, book an appointment with us, and we can get you connected there. We are a believer that you should be doing resistance training and have some type of nutrition coaching while you're on this drug if you've never done it in the past. Luckily for Kristi, she had done all these things in the past. But if you are new to it, it might leave you wanting when it's time to wean the dosage or get off of it. So I do believe we are a big believer that nutrition coaching should accompany whatever drug you are using for this. And then other than that, if you're interested in fitness, go ahead and reach out to us. Nutrition, reach out to us. It's www.stackcoaching.com. I'm Coach Bradley, and let's get stacked.